So how many of us feel that we tend to be very reactive in life to every little thing? How many of us, can we have a show of hands? And do we feel that there is another choice, or we have to react if we are triggered? There is a choice. And where does that choice lie? How do we access that choice? Think about it. Somebody or the environment gives you a trigger which evokes a usual reaction in some of anger and some of anxiety and some of sadness. How many of us feel that we have no choice? When the trigger comes, I will respond like that. You feel like that. How many of you feel you have a choice? Okay, so what would give you access to that choice?
I think just like keeping little calm or
But how? I'm not able to, like Malvika would say, I'm not able to keep calm when the trigger comes. And honestly, that might be the truth for many of us. So what will give me the choice? What will give me access?
Space.
Space?
Space, to find that space between, that moment between getting triggered. There's it's like a precursor. I've observed it long enough to see that
Loudly?
you start getting triggered. When you're starting to get triggered, there's like a backlog of thoughts that replay. A past replays within a second. You
Right.
don't realize it. But this person did this to me, and that's why the trigger is repetitive.
And already always. It's already like that and always like that.
So there are times where if I pause and tell myself, no, I should observe that person in this moment, and
Right.
is this situation really that bad?
Right.
Then I can stop. But once the triggering has started, like that snowball effect.
Right.
Once it's off the ledge, I'm not able to.
So Nash is saying to really be present to this moment and not let it get hijacked by your past. That's one way. Anything else?
stepping back.
So that's what he's saying. Stepping back is the same thing.
Further to what he said, there's a quote by Viktor Frankl who had been in the
Loudly, Isha.
There's a quote by Viktor Frankl who had been in the concentration camps, and he says that between stimulus and response there is a space, and that space is choice.
Yes, but we have to have access to that space. So one is that space, but some of us may not have access to it, but it helps to know that it exists, at least to plant in your consciousness the seed that it exists. So now let's start with a story. This was a story that Ramakrishna used to tell his disciples. The story is called Rama's Will. Okay? Raghuram was a pious weaver. He was a devotee of Lord Sri Ram. He firmly believed that everything happens by the will of Lord Sri Ram. The sun shines, the rain falls, the wind blows, men walk and fish swim, all by the will of Lord Sri Ram. If Lord Sri Ram's will is not there, everything will come to a standstill. This was Raghuram's strong faith. Raghuram never forgot Lord Sri Ram. As soon as he got up early in the morning, he would repeat the name of Lord Sri Ram. After bathing, after offering Naivedyam, that is food to Lord Sri Ram, he would take his breakfast saying, "By the will of Lord Sri Ram." Again, before starting weaving, he would take the name of Lord Sri Ram. As he plied the shuttle weaving the cloth, he would be chanting Lord Sri Rama's name. He would take the woven clothes to the bazaar for sale. If someone asked him what the price of a particular cloth was, he would say, "By the will of Lord Sri Ram, the yarn costs 1 rupee. By the will of Lord Sri Ram, my labor costs 50 paisa. By the will of Lord Sri Ram, the profit is 25 paisa. So the price of the cloth by the will of Lord Sri Ram is rupees 175. You find him a little weird, no? But why is he doing this? Why is he giving so many details when a person's just asking it costs so much? How much does it cost? Transparency and the constant knowing in his fiber. See, we will think, oh, the cloth costs so much because there's black market tearing, there are crooks. We'll have various judgments. For him, there was no reason to anything but that it's the will of Ram. It's so simple, no? Raghuram's sincerity and simplicity would charm men and women. Nobody would bargain with him. They would pay him whatever he demanded. They were sure he would never overcharge them or cheat them. After the sales were over, Raghuram would return home chanting Lord Sri Ram's name all the way. He would have his food and go to sleep again taking the Lord's name. On one hot and humid day, Raghuram thought he would sit in the veranda of his home for some time. He was chanting Ram Ram. A gang of robbers passed that way. They burgled a rich man's house. They had a big bundle which contained lots of cash, jewels, and other valuable articles. They saw Raghuram sitting in the veranda. Here is a hefty fellow. We can make him carry the heavy bundle. They put the bundle on his head and told him, "Walk with us, or else we shall thrash you." Raghuram, without any protest, went with them carrying the heavy load. He continued chanting Ram Ram all the way. At the end of the street, 3 police officers were doing their beats. The robbers got frightened. They ran away. Raghuram was left alone with the bundle on his head. He did not run away. He stood there chanting Ram Ram. The police opened the bundle and discovered the loot. They were happy. They had caught the robber red-handed. They marched Raghuram to the police station. He was kept in the lockup that night. Next morning, the police produced Raghuram and the bundle before the magistrate. They charged Raghuram with the robbery. The news of Raghuram's robbery charges quickly spread in the village. Men, women, children rushed to the court in wonder. How could he commit any robbery, they speculated. The magistrate had also heard of Raghuram. He too could not associate robbery with this peaceful-looking weaver. However, the police had caught him with the bundle. Anyway, the magistrate pondered, "I will not punish the man until I am sure he has committed the robbery. Let me ask him for his own explanation." The magistrate asked the prisoner, "Tell the court what exactly happened." All the while, Raghuram was standing as if he was in another world. His lips were continuously moving, uttering Ram, Ram. No one who saw his face would think he was a criminal. Raghuram was now turned to the magistrate and told him in a clear voice, "Your Lordship, by Lord Sri Ram's will, I was sitting in my veranda. By Lord Sri Ram's will, some robbers came that way. By Lord Sri Ram's will, they put their bundle on my head and make me walk with them." See the beauty of it. We would say some very wicked robbers came and they put the bundle on my head, but he has no judgment about the robbers. He's just saying, by Lord Sri Ram's will, they did it. I'm not judging them. By Lord Sri Ram's will, the robbers ran away. By Lord Sri Ram's will, the police arrested me and kept in the lockup. By Lord Sri Ram's will, they have produced me before you. By Lord Sri Ram's will, you want to punish me, not blaming him, not you're being unfair to me. It's Lord's will, you can't be helped. Tears began to flow down the cheeks of the magistrate. This man was so utterly like a child. He had nothing to hide. He was not calculating or clever in the usual sense. His trust in God was absolute. He must not be punished but worshipped. The magistrate said in open court, "I am convinced this man is innocent. I discharge him. Let him be set free." Raghuram joined his hands before the magistrate and told him, "By Lord Sri Rama's will, you have set me free." The huge crowd assembled in the court shouting Jai Ram, victory to Lord Sri Ram, and they took the procession back to his home. Now we couldn't get a better example of equality than this, right? He didn't get ruffled when he was wrongly implicated. He didn't get elated when he was set free. He received everything as the Lord's will. Now we may say we can't be right like Raghuram, sure, but let's explore what it is that gives a human being the capacity to be like Raghuram. Equality, Sri Aurobindo's words from his book Synthesis of Yoga. Equality is the sign of this adoration. Adoration for whom? For the Lord. It is the soul's ground on which true worship and sacrifice can be done. So this morning in class we did asanas with the earth element, right? And we said the earth element is the element of stability. Earth is the element which is grounded, which never shakes. So earth is the element of faith. In Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, there's that line, "Happiest are they who stand on faith as on a rock." So when I'm not shaken when things come my way, earth is equal to whatever's thrown in her, because my earth is my faith that all is God and all is God's will. So I have no judgment about anything personally. I have no personal bias about anything if I'm one with my earth element, because I fully know that not even a leaf drops to the earth without that secret will. And Sri Aurobindo says, whether it seem good or evil to men's eyes, only for good the secret will can work. So if Raghuram could say that the robbers placed the bundle on my head by Lord's will, nobody is doing something so drastic to us, no? Little things happen to us, somebody talks to us rudely, somebody's whatever. Instead of blaming the person for it, it's more accurate to say that Lord's will in that person is making that person behave like this with me for purposes I don't understand. So Sri Aurobindo says it so beautifully in this passage that the same essence God is in everyone. He is fully open to see in people who are beautiful, and He is either disguised or veiled or distorted in others. But even in those forms in which he is distorted, his will is being done in that form for the evolutionary purposes of that form. We may say it's not okay that this person behaves like this with me. But if we have the heart of Raghuram, we'll say it's okay, because it's not his personal choice. Most human beings are puppets in the hands of higher forces or lower forces, but they are puppets. So we can't blame them for their unconscious behavior. But even their unconsciousness is being manipulated by the higher will to serve an evolutionary purpose. Does that make sense? So, equality is the sign of this adoration. It's the soul's ground on which true worship, sacrifice and worship can be done. The Lord is there equally in all beings. We have to make no essential distinctions between ourselves and others, the wise and the ignorant, friend and enemy, man and animal, the saint and the sinner. We must hate none, despise none, be repelled by none, for in all we have to see the one disguised or manifested at his pleasure. He is a little revealed in one or more revealed in another, or concealed and wholly distorted in others according to his will and his knowledge of what is best for that which he intends to become in form in them. So beautiful. Even the difficult person in whom he is totally distorted, it's according to his will and his knowledge of what is best for that which he intends to become in form in them and to do in works in their nature. All is our self, one self that has taken many shapes. Even what we have to destroy, we must not abhor or fail to recognize as a disguised and temporary movement of the eternal. And since all things are the one self in its manifestation, we shall have the equality of soul. See, he said a very beautiful thing here. Even what we have to destroy now, we may not have to kill someone, but there are some people whom maybe it's sensible to tell them they are going wrong. But if we tell them that out of agitation and self-righteousness, it's not the way. In fact, when we are feeling angry and self-righteous, that time we mustn't talk, because we'll invariably go on an ego trip and spoil it. But when we are really calm, like there's that story of that Zen master, and Zen masters are great warriors also, you know that. So once he was fighting an enemy and the enemy was down, and the Zen master would have raised his sword and killed him. And that enemy spat in his face. And the Zen master got very angry, because there's great indignity in getting spit on your face. So he put his sword down and he went away. And later on, when he met this man, the man asked him, "Why didn't you kill me?" So the Zen master said, "Because when you spat at me, I was overcome with anger. I saw you as an enemy. And my Zen training says I never kill an enemy with a mind that he's my enemy. So I could not violate my Zen training. I could have killed you only when I was completely calm and feeling no animosity towards you." So there's a great learning in that. When we want to attack with the sword of words, with the sword of whatever, never do it when you're actually seeing the person as an enemy. It will always backfire. Calm down, see that person also as that same essence, that same. Transfer the responsibility of that behavior from that person to God's will. You're doing it because Mother wills you to behave like this with me. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me it works. And don't get agitated. And in a very calm way, tell the person where they are going wrong, as if that person's yourself. When you've made your mistake, if you're conscious, you won't flog yourself. No, we've said there's no merit in flogging yourself. You'll talk to yourself patiently. "Look, Anahita, this you could have done better. This you were not conscious." So talk to that person how you talk to yourself. and see how beautifully your words will be received.
Difficulty sometimes are remembering.
That's the
In
thing.
that moment, if I have to share my own observation, is
Loudly.
You are not yourself.
You're not yourself,
You
but
are your past self reliving itself.
you're the past self imposed.
Yeah, you don't see yourself. It's almost like you're blinded. It's like an amnesia.
But that's why you have to become very vigilant and very conscious.
As I said, when you're in that spiral, I've noticed when I'm in it, I've lost control. Just before prior, at this
Yeah,
my personal
yeah,
experience.
yeah. But it's good that you've caught it. Now in future this week practice that I know that there's that gap. Let me catch that gap before the other thing catches me.
Sometimes we feel compelled to behave in a certain way. So what if it's like the divine acting through you to give the other
Of
person
course.
what they need at that moment? Like sometimes I just find myself saying things or behaving in a certain way which is not in my control. Like reacting to
So Siddhi, we all are not in control till we are conscious, till we are unconscious. So when we become more conscious, with consciousness comes freedom and mastery. And it's okay to justify it as God wanted that person to hear it through me. But what is it doing to you to get so rattled and speak out of that agitation? And at one level, it's true that everything happens by His will. But we can't say that it's the best that happens at every moment. The mother says, given your level of consciousness, the divine makes sure the best happens. But if you raise your level of consciousness, a better best can happen.
But not in the same situation, because that particular situation only arises at that.
Right, right.
So when you uplift and raise yourself, then another situation.
Of
it will
course,
never be that
it won't be the same situation, no. Because you will attract situations based on the level of your consciousness. So if you're at this level, you cannot attract the situation you attracted at this level. So, even and since all things are the one self in its manifestation, we shall have equality of soul towards the ugly and the beautiful, the maimed and the perfect, the noble and the vulgar, the pleasant and the unpleasant, the good and the evil. Here also there will be no hatred, scorn and repulsion, but instead the equal eye that sees all things in their real character and their appointed place. For we shall know that all things express or disguise, develop or distort as best they can or with whatever defect they must, under the circumstances intended for them in the way possible to the immediate status or function or evolution of their nature, some truth or fact, some energy or potential of the divine necessary by its presence in the progressive. Okay, so this sentence is Greek and Latin. If you can understand it, otherwise I'm just reading it. We'll go to the next. Both to the whole of the present sum of things and for the perfection of the ultimate result. What he's simply saying is, what you see as a defect in the larger scheme of things, it needs to be as it is, in simple words. The truth is what we must seek and discover behind the transitory, changing expression, undeterred by appearances, by the deficiencies or the disfigurations of the expression. We can then worship the divine forever unsullied, pure, beautiful, and perfect behind his masks. All indeed has to be changed, not ugliness accepted, but divine beauty. So beautiful. So he's saying it's not that you say ugliness is divine, so you accept it. You do change it, but not with a heart that hates. There's a beautiful aphorism of Sri Aurobindo, I'm not quoting it exactly, but he says that the real virtue is to love the God of beauty in the ugly and the repulsive and desire to change it without feeling a recoil. You are God in essence. You're God in essence who's put on this ugly form. And loving the essence that you are, I give my best to change the form that you wear, without hating you for the form that you want.
Is it always necessary to change the form? What if you just see the ugliness is gone?
So it depends, Purvi. Sometimes it's not hard and fast. In every situation, each person has to play a different role. It may be the lot of one person to reach out and change that ugliness. It may be the lot of another person to look at that same ugliness, bless it and move on. Not imperfection taken as our resting place, but perfection striven after. The supreme good made the universal aim and not evil. But what we do has to be done with a spiritual understanding and knowledge, and it is a divine good, beauty, perfection, pleasure that has to be followed after, not the human standards of these things. If we have not equality, it is a sign that we are still pursued by the ignorance. We shall truly understand nothing, and it is more than likely that we shall destroy the old imperfection only to create another one. So beautiful. If you work out of agitation to change something ugly, you will destroy an old imperfection only to create another one. For example, there's a difficult person in my life. I fight tooth and nail. I cut that person out of my life. For the moment, I've destroyed it. But I haven't conquered it in me. It's still vibrating in me. I'll attract another difficult person. I'll destroy one imperfection to create another.
It's like being allergic to milk, going to another country, drinking another country's milk and saying milk was changed.
Yes, yes, you'll still be allergic. Equality does not mean a fresh ignorance or blindness. It does not call for and need not initiate a grayness of vision and a blotting out of all hues. Difference is there, variation of expression is there, and this variation we shall appreciate far more justly than we could when the eye was clouded by a partial and erring love and hate, admiration and scorn, sympathy and antipathy, attraction and repulsion. But behind the variation, we shall always see the complete and immutable who dwells within it, and we shall feel, know, or at least if it's hidden from us, trust in the wise purpose and divine necessity for the particular manifestation. Whether it appear to our human standards harmonious and perfect, or crude and unfinished, or even false and evil. So too, we shall have the same equality of mind and soul towards all happenings, painful or pleasurable, defeat and success, honor and disgrace, good repute and ill repute, good fortune and ill fortune. For in all happenings we shall see the will of the master of all works and results, and a step in the evolving expression of the divine. Now this seems unreachable to us, no? That we shall remain equal in good fortune, ill fortune, success, failure. And granted, at our level of consciousness, it may seem like I'll never get there. But the seeds of this equality are there. And when you hear Sri Aurobindo's words, he writes in a way that he waters those seeds. If every day you just read a page of Sri Aurobindo's writing, I feel if you really connect with it, there's no way you can't change reading him. Because his is not writing at a mental level. His words have a vibration which work on your consciousness and help you to sort of actualize the truths you're reading. So if you just read this sentence, I'll read it again. Something in you will come alive to its truth, and some seeds will be watered. Who knows at what point they'll blossom. And so too we shall have the same equality of mind and soul towards all happenings, painful or pleasurable, defeat and success, honor and disgrace, good repute and ill repute, good fortune and ill fortune. For in all happenings we shall see the will of the Master of all works and results, and a step in the evolving expression of the Divine. He manifests Himself to those who have the inner eye that sees, in forces and their play, and results as well as in things and in creatures. All things move towards a divine event. What is the divine event? Yeah, realizing your God self. That is the divine event in each one of us. Each expression, suffering and want, no less than joy and satisfaction, is a necessary link in the carrying out of a universal movement, which it is our business to understand and second. To revolt, to condemn, to cry out is the impulse of our unchastened and ignorant instincts. Revolt, like everything else, has its uses in the play and is even necessary, helpful, decreed for the divine development in its own time and stage. But the movement of the ignorant rebellion belongs to the stage of the soul's childhood or to its raw adolescence. He is not talking about chronological age. If the soul age is immature, when things go wrong, we get angry, we get rebellious. But as the soul matures, this rebellion quells. The ripened soul does not condemn, but seeks to understand and master. So when pain comes, an evolutionary being will ask, what can I learn from it? Why has this happened? It won't waste time and energy blaming people. It will understand that life never gives me more pain than what's good for my growth. So why has life given me this pain? What growth is it inviting me to make?
I think sometimes the growth is unknown.
Yeah. So I agree with you, and it unfolds over a period of time. But at least the stance I can take with maturity of the soul is not to blame life, blame people. That's the most useless thing to do and the most unconscious thing to do. But to ask yourself every day, maybe for months and years, what do I have to learn from this? What do I have to learn from this?
And sometimes
It pops in. Yes, yes. But you have to ask the universe. There are listening ears in the universe. They are always listening to every thought. You have to keep asking.
Should we be aiming not to be sensitive or just aiming not to be reactive?
See, sensitive is beautiful. What do you understand by sensitive, Malu?
I guess like feeling strong emotional reaction.
No, that's touchy. That's not sensitive. Sensitive is conscious. I'm sensitive to sense and atmosphere. I'm sensitive to beauty. Sensitive is beautiful. In yoga, sensitivity is a great asset to have. Because if you're not sensitive, you'll walk into the samadhi and feel nothing. You'll be before the picture and feel nothing. But that's not touchy. Touchiness is different. So yeah, touchiness is reactiveness. That of course is unconsciousness. But sometimes people who are very sensitive are also very touchy. So you don't have to throw away the baby with the bath water. You have to hold on to your sensitivity but get rid of the touchiness.
Opposite would be becoming very hard also.
Yeah, if you lose your sensitivity, you become hard. Then that's a great loss, because when you harden, you won't hurt, but you won't feel beauty either. You can't throw away the baby with the bath water. The ripened soul does not condemn, but seeks to understand and master, does not cry out, but accepts or toils to improve and perfect, does not revolt inwardly, but labors to obey and fulfill and transfigure. Therefore we shall receive all things with an equal soul from the hands of the Master. Failure we shall admit as a passage as calmly as success, until the hour of the divine victory arrives. Our souls and minds and bodies will remain unshaken by acutest sorrow and suffering and pain, if in the divine dispensation they come to us unoverpowered by intensest joy and pleasure. Thus supremely balanced, we shall continue steadily on our way, meeting all things with an equal calm until we are ready for a more exalted status, can enter into the supreme and universal Ananda. Equality cannot come except by a protracted ordeal and patient self-discipline. So he's saying it's a process, it can't come overnight. So long as desire is strong, equality cannot come at all except in periods of quiescence and the fatigue of desire. And it is then more likely to be an inert indifference or desire's recoil from itself than the true calm and positive spiritual oneness. Moreover, this discipline or this growth into equality of spirit has its necessary epochs and stages. Ordinarily, we have to begin with a period of endurance, for we must learn to confront, to suffer, to assimilate all contacts. So when pain comes, we have a desire to be free of it. And all pain is in a way frustrated desire. This desire didn't get fulfilled, so I'm in pain. So initially you have to just endure it, and that's when a memory of all this helps. That yeah, I'm in pain, but pain is the hand of nature sculpting men to greatness. Life never gives me more pain than what's good for me. And through the pain, the universe has my back. I'm being carried. I'm not alone. All these things help you to endure better. Ordinarily, we have to begin with a period of endurance, for we must learn to confront, to suffer, and to assimilate all contacts. Each fiber in us must be taught not to wince away from that which pains and repels, and not to run eagerly towards that which pleases and attracts, but rather to accept, to face, to bear, and to conquer. All touches we must be strong to bear, not only those that are proper and personal to us, but those born of our sympathy or our conflict with the world around, above or below us, and with their people. So we must be strong to bear touches not only that are proper and personal to us, but those born of our sympathy or conflict with the worlds around. So when we see the world around, something in us tightens. What kind of world am I in? What kind of people? But we must remember that this whole world is the body of God. It's the same essence in everything. Everything is the divine wearing a mask. And through each mask, the essence which is divine is fulfilling its purposes with an infinite intelligence which my finite intelligence can't fathom. We shall endure tranquilly the action and impact on us of men and things and forces, the pressure of the gods and the assaults of titans. We shall face and engulf in the unstirred seas of our spirit all that can possibly come to us down the ways of the soul's infinite experience. This is the stoical period of the preparation of equality, its most elementary and yet its heroic age. But this steadfast endurance of the flesh and heart and mind must be reinforced by a sustained sense of spiritual submission to a divine will. This living clay must yield not only with a stern or courageous acquiescence, but with the knowledge of or the resignation, even in suffering, to the touch of the divine hand that is preparing its perfection. a sage, a devout, or even a tender stoicism of the God lover is possible, and these are better than the merely pagan, self reliant endurance which may lend itself to a too great hardening of the vessel of God. For this kind prepares the strength that is capable of wisdom and love. Its tranquility is a deeply moved calm that passes easily into bliss. The gain of this period of resignation and endurance is the soul's strength equal to all shocks and contacts. So, the first stage of equality is endurance. You are not happy yet, but you are strengthening your vital to take the shocks of life without recoil. There is next a period of high-seated impartiality and indifference in which the soul becomes free from exaltation and depression and escapes from the snare of the eagerness of joy as from the dark net of the pangs of grief and suffering. All things and persons and forces, all thoughts and feelings and sensations and actions, one's own no less than that of others, are regarded from above by a spirit that remains intact and immutable and is not disturbed by these things. This is the philosophic period of preparation of equality, a wide and august movement. So, first is endurance, second is indifference. I'm indifferent to pleasure, I enjoy it but I'm not attached to it. I'm indifferent to pain, I don't recoil from it.
But is this like an effort at it, or is this natural?
Some personal effort is required, Purvi, always, till it becomes natural. So, your effort is the constant smaran of everything that he said, constant remembrance that everything is God wearing a mask, constant remembrance that what I'm calling this behavior is not okay, in the mind of God it's okay and exactly as it needs to be. So you drop judgment, you can become like Raghuram, not blame her for talking to me like that, say it's mother's will and leave it at that.
Sometimes you can see this in people who may not even be consciously practicing. I've observed that sometimes we are consciously trying to inculcate it. But sometimes we see this sort of equanimity in random people who may not be even connected.
From past lives.
So it's like it's developing, the stages are
Yes.
developing, there is the structures yet there.
Yes.
Even if you consciously know it or not.
So at some point this person's made personal effort in a past life. So this birth it's natural. But indifference must not settle into an inert turning away from action and experience. It must not be an aversion born out of weariness, disgust and distaste, a recoil of disappointed or satiated desire, the sullenness of a baffled and dissatisfied egoism forced back from its passionate aims. These recoils come inevitably in the unripe soul and may in some way help the progress by a discouragement of the eager, desire-driven vital nature. But they are not the perfection towards which we labor. The indifference or the impartiality that we must seek after is a calm superiority of the high-seated soul above the contacts of things. It regards and accepts or rejects them, but is not moved in the rejection and is not subjected by the acceptance. It begins to feel itself near, kin to, one with the silent self and spirit, self-existent and separate from the workings of nature. Coming to the last paragraph, if we can pass through these two stages of inner change without being arrested or fixed in either, we are admitted to a greater divine equality which is capable of a spiritual ardor and tranquil passion of delight, a rapturous all understanding and all possessing equality of the perfected soul. an intense and even wideness and fullness of its being, embracing all things. So Sri Aurobindo gives us 3 stages of equality. The first stage is endurance, strengthening the vitals so it doesn't get shaken and rattled by the touches of life. Second is indifference, the witness poise, which can just watch good things and bad things without attachment or recoil. Third is deepening the peace till the God in everything becomes so visible to you that you enjoy everything, that you embrace everything. Nothing creates recoil or disgust in you.
So you don't see the good or bad, like it's all same, the last.
It's all a movement in the body of God. You see His Leela. See, when you're watching a movie or a play, you don't really have a judgment that the scene is good or bad. You're just watching it for its entertainment value mostly, right? So you see that this whole play is world is a seamless good of God, which is playing at a surface good and evil, but supported below it by an unconditional good. And you get the vision to see that unconditional good supporting the play of apparent good and bad. Then everything is a joy and you embrace everything.
Sometimes it could happen, like I remember one instance where I could see the humor in the situation, but the other person couldn't.
Yeah.
So at that point, what do you do? Because even though that person was really hassled, but somehow I saw the humor in it.
But you can be sensitive to the person and laugh when the person's not looking. Or laugh in your own head. Obviously, if a person's very upset and you laugh, the person will think you're making fun of him.
Yes, so one has to at that point pretend.
And inside laugh. So, a rapturous all understanding and all possessing equality of the perfected soul, an intense and even wideness and fullness of its being, embracing all things. This is the supreme period, and the passage to it is through the joy of a total self-giving to the divine, to the universal mother. For strength is then crowned by a happy mastery. Peace deepens into bliss. The possession of the divine calm is uplifted and made the ground for possession of the divine movement. But if this great perfection is to arrive, the soul's impartial, high-seatedness looking down from above on the flux of forms and personalities and movements and forces must be modified and changed into a new sense of strong and calm submission, a powerful and intense surrender. The submission will be no longer a resigned acquiescence but a glad acceptance, for there will be no sense of suffering or the bearing of a burden or cross. Love and delight and the joy of self-giving will be its brilliant texture. And this surrender will be not only to a divine will which we perceive and accept and obey, but to a divine wisdom in the will which we recognize, and a divine love in it which we will feel and rapturously suffer. The wisdom and love of a supreme spirit and self of ourselves, and all with which we can achieve a happy and perfect unity. What Sri Aurobindo says is, normally to do anything, the motive is desire, some form of egoism, some kind of thing I want to get out of the doing. But he says that as you progress, the motive force of action will not be desire, it will be consciously felt divine will. Now, most of us have never experienced it, but we can at least intellectually understand it. Normally, it's the desire of our ego self which prompts us to do. But when we are really quiet and we've gone through these stages of equality, we reach a stage where we do something because we just feel it's the divine will. It's what Sri Aurobindo calls kartavyam karma. Karma which I'm doing because it's that will. And we see this in Mahabharata. We know that Arjun didn't want to fight, and there was that Arjun's Vishad Yoga and all that, till Krishna shows him his Vishwaswarup and opens his eyes to seeing that the whole world is him. And that vision softens Arjun into surrender. And then he says, I'll do whatever you tell me. I've given up my will to you. And I've said this before, when he kills that particular person and quenches Draupadi's thirst for revenge, he wanted that person killed. And Draupadi tells him, we all know that Arjun was Draupadi's favorite husband. And she says, oh Arjun, you were always my hero. I knew you would do this for me. And Arjun tells her, stop Draupadi, when I started fighting the war, my intention was to avenge your insult and all. But now my motive force wasn't to avenge your insult. I did it for only one reason, Krishna bade me to do it. And when we do any karma, any action out of that will, we don't generate karma. In his Yoga Sutra, Patanjali writes that any action done in a state of at-one-ment with Ishwar's will generates no karma for you. So Arjun killed so many people, but he was one with Krishna's will, so no karma accrued to him. So that's what Sri Aurobindo is saying. And this surrender will be not only to a divine will which we perceive and accept and obey, but to a divine wisdom. When we know the divine will, we know the wisdom in that will. We don't question it. We don't get swayed by appearances, which we recognize, and a divine love in it, which we feel and rapturously suffer. The wisdom and love of a supreme spirit and self of ourselves, and all with which we can achieve a happy and perfect unity. A lonely power, peace and stillness is the last word of the philosophic equality of the sage. But the soul in its integral experience liberates itself from this self-created status and enters into the sea of a supreme and all-embracing ecstasy of the beginningless and endless beatitude of the eternal. Then we are at last capable of receiving all contacts with a blissful equality, because we feel in them the touch of the imperishable love and delight, the happiness absolute that hides ever in the heart of things. The gain of this culmination in a universal and equal rapture is the soul's delight and the opening gates of the bliss that is infinite, the joy that surpasses all understanding. We call it, biblical phrases, the peace that passeth all understanding. But here Sri Aurobindo is using the phrase, the joy that passeth all understanding. An entire removal of the separative ego sense is an essential aim of our yoga. If any ego is to remain in us for a while, it is only a form of it which knows itself to be a form and is ready to disappear as soon as the true center of consciousness is manifested or built in us. That true consciousness is a luminous formulation of the one consciousness and a pure channel and instrument of the one existence. So now there's this beautiful sonnet of Sri Aurobindo's, Because Thou Art, which in a way sums up the culmination of equality. What is the culmination of equality? What did Sri Aurobindo say was the last stage of equality, the culmination? Joy in celebrating God. So Sri Aurobindo is quite marvelous in that. Why does he say all life is yoga? He never says to escape life, because he says to escape life is to escape God. So he in fact says embrace life. Instead of shunning it, getting a recoil from its ugly appearance, see its essence and toil to bring that essence out in form, so that that essence transforms the form also. Which is why his yoga is perhaps the most difficult yoga attempted. All other yogas say, okay, discover your God essence and go into the God essence. But Sri Aurobindo says, discover that God essence, use that as a leverage to transform the appearances of that essence. So, Sri Aurobindo says, because thou art, he is addressing God, all beauty and all bliss, my soul, blind and enamored, yearns for thee. It bears thy mystic touch in all that is, and thrills with the burden of that ecstasy. So beautiful, no? The culmination of equality, thrills with the burden of that ecstasy. That ecstasy is so much that I almost have to bear it. My human nature can't bear that kind of ecstasy. Because thou art all beauty and all bliss, my soul, blind and enamored, yearns for thee. It bears thy mystic touch in all that is, and thrills with the burden of that ecstasy. Behind all eyes I meet thy secret gaze. We worked with this in the morning. Bring it back. See your difficult person. See that difficult person staring at you, and see mother's eyes from behind. You can't hate that person anymore. Behind all eyes I meet thy secret gaze, and in each voice I hear thy magic tune. That difficult person has spoken to me abusively because you willed it. It was your will. So in the morning what we did was we recollected the harsh words and kept repeating this line. In each voice I hear thy magic tune. It's just learn up these two lines and use them as mantras in your day. Behind all eyes I meet thy secret gaze, and in each voice I hear thy magic tune. Thy sweetness hunts my heart through nature's ways. Nowhere it beats now from thy snare immune. Nowhere my heart beats immune to your snare. What is your snare? The God presence in everything. So my heart helplessly loves everything. It's snared into loving everything. It loves thy body and all living things. Thy joy is there in every leaf and stone. The moments bring thee on their fiery wings. Each moment is full of the fire of your presence. Sight's endless artistry. Whatever my eye sees is a beautiful painting created by God. So that sight's endless artistry is thou alone. Time voyages with thee upon its prow, and all the future's passionate hope is thou. It's a beautiful poem. I'm going to read it without explanation. Because thou art all beauty and all bliss, my soul, blind and enamored, yearns for thee. It bears thy mystic touch in all that is, and thrills with the burden of that ecstasy. Behind all eyes I meet thy secret gaze, and in each voice I hear thy magic tune. Thy sweetness hunts my heart through nature's ways. Nowhere it beats now from thy snare immune. It loves thy body in all living things. Thy joy is there in every leaf and stone. The moments bring thee on their fiery wings. Sight's endless artistry is thou alone. Time voyages with thee upon its brow, and all the future's passionate hope is thou. So now let's shut our eyes, and just these two lines from this sonnet. Behind all eyes, I meet thy secret gaze. We did it in the morning, but do it again now. Visualize your difficult person, the eyes looking into yours, and visualize mother's eyes looking through that difficult person at you and saying, behind all eyes, I meet thy secret gaze. If you're students and you have difficulty with a colleague, a staff member, a teacher who you're scared of, again, dissolve the fear. See that person staring at you, mother's eyes looking at you from the person's eyes. Behind all eyes, I meet thy secret gaze. So whenever I'm anxious about somebody's reaction to me, just visualize that person's eyes looking into yours, mother's eyes looking out of that person's eyes, and saying, behind all eyes, I meet thy secret gaze. And if you're hurting over somebody's words spoken to you, replay those words in your memory and the second line from this sonnet, and in each voice I hear thy magic tune. Simultaneously remember the person saying all that they did, and in each voice I hear thy magic tune. And recollecting Sri Aurobindo's suggestion to us, hate none, despise none, recoil from none. Everyone is God, visible more in some forms, less visible or distorted in others. And even in the forms where he is distorted, the difficult person that is, the distortion is according to his will to work out evolutionary purposes in this being. My reaction of this person behaving like this with me is not okay can dissolve into it's okay. It's mother's will, and whether that seems good or evil to my eyes, only for good mother's will can work. So I don't judge the person. It becomes very simple, accepting every human behavior towards me as mother's will. So keeping this in mind, once again replay those words. Mother's will, that the person speaks like this. Can I love mother enough to accept it? And in each voice I hear thy magic tune. Thy sweetness hunts my heart through nature's ways. Nowhere it beats now, from thy snare immune. And then we go ahead, Sri Aurobindo's words, Savitri, if our souls could see and love and clasp God's truth, its infinite radiance would seize our hearts, our being in God's image be remade, and earthly life become the life divine. If our souls could see and love and clasp God's truth is this vision that I am that essence in everything, making each form what it needs to be. If its infinite radiance would seize our hearts, our being in God's image be remade, and earthly life become life divine. And then this other passage from Savitri, page 278. Between, behind our life, the deathless rose. Rose is the symbol of love, right? So between our life and behind our life, there is this seamless good of the God presence, which is the deathless rose. Between, behind our life, the deathless rose. Across the covert is hidden. Across the covert air, the spirit breathes. A body of the cosmic beauty and joy, unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world. So across the hidden air the spirit breathes, there is a body of cosmic beauty and joy. That is the God presence. It is unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world, because the blind, suffering world does not see it, does not guess that there is God behind everything. The world keeps suffering. Unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world. Climbing from nature's deep, surrendered heart, it blooms forever at the feet of God. So beautiful. So this deathless rose, which is the God presence everywhere, is unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world. And nature is us, climbing from nature's deep, surrendered heart. It blooms forever at the feet of God. So this deathless rose is the psychic presence in all things, in all of us. Even when we are in a state of rebellion, the psychic being in us is the deathless rose, which is always surrendered to God. It blooms forever at the feet of God, fed by life's sacrificial mystery. So beautiful. So this psychic being is watered by all the pains of life. Every bit of pain serves a purpose in your evolution. Sri Aurobindo writes in the Life Divine that whatever pain you go through on the surface, the superconscient in you churns it to return it to the surface as growth, wisdom, strength. So no pain you go through is in vain. It all serves a purpose. So that's why he says, fed by life's sacrificial mysteries. Here too, its bud is born in the human breast. The bud of the deathless rose is the psychic being. Then by a touch, the touch of a guru, the touch of something, anything, then by a touch, a presence or a voice, the world is turned into a temple ground, and all discloses the unknown beloved. These lines are also worth learning up and repeating. Then by a touch, a presence or a voice, the whole world is turned into a temple ground, because everything is the abode of God, right? So the whole world becomes a sacred temple ground. The world is turned into a temple ground, and all discloses the unknown beloved. In an outburst of heavenly joy and ease, life yields to the divinity within and gives the rapture offering of its all, and the soul opens to felicity. A bliss is felt that never can wholly cease. A sudden mystery of secret God, flowers goldening our earth of red desire. What unimaginable beauty in the words. Do you all sense it? One can't even explain it. A bliss is felt that can never wholly cease. A sudden mystery of God, flowers. So this sudden mystery of secret grace, this grace is everywhere, but suddenly it becomes visible to us. A sudden mystery of secret grace, flowers goldening our earth of red desire. Our earth is ourself. It's red with the passion of desire. But when we see this God presence everywhere, the red of our desire mutates to the gold of supramental. Gold is the color of the supramental, right? So it's a beautiful passage. I'm just going to read it without explanation. Feel it. It's so powerful and so beautiful. Between, behind our life, the deathless rose. Across the covered air, the spirit breathes, a body of the cosmic beauty and joy, unseen, unguessed by the blind, suffering world, climbing from nature's deep, surrendered heart. It blooms forever at the feet of God, fed by life's sacrificial mysteries. Here too, its bud is born in human breasts. Then by a touch, a presence or a voice, the world is turned into a temple ground, and all discloses the unknown beloved. In an outburst of heavenly joy and ease, life yields to the divinity within and gives the rapture offering of its all, and the soul opens to felicity. A bliss is felt that never can wholly cease, a sudden mystery of secret grace, flowers goldening our earth of red desire. Hands together in a namaste at the heart. Let's conclude with 3 Oms.